Talk about is actually our citywide renewal programme for our library service. So rather than one individual building, about how we've looked to transform the delivery of library services across the entire city. This image here is our fabulous central library, which reopened to the city 1 year ago this week. It's one of the finest public libraries in England, alongside Birmingham, obviously, Brian. In 1998, we decided to develop a library strategy for the entire city. So not about looking at libraries individually or in isolation, and started to work with our local neighbourhoods and our local communities to understand what library users wanted to see in their local library, what was important to them. But actually, more importantly, it was to work with those people who don't use libraries to try and understand why they don't use libraries. And what came out constantly from those consultations, and it's been a kind of recurring theme, is that people wanted space to carry out other activities. Yes, they wanted to see books, but they wanted space to engage, to meet, to socialise, to learn, to take part in activity. So space was premium. That was premium capital in those local areas. We developed a tiered approach, so almost like a retail approach to the delivery of library services. So it's the same way some of the high street suppliers in the UK would brand their services. So Central Library is our Library Extra, which is the heart of the library service. That's then delivered by 15 neighbourhood libraries. And we started to outline exactly what the library promise or what the library offer would be at each of those levels, and then supported by 6 smaller community libraries across the city. And that resulted in 99% of our residents of our population being within 2.4 kilometres of a library, and 85% between 1.6. So that started to set out our structure for how we would deliver libraries. We also run the prison library, and we have the virtual library service as well. So as I say, in 2008, we set ourselves an ambitious challenge, and that was to rebuild or refurbish every library in the city, 2 years before austerity kicked in within the UK. We have had some of the major supermarkets build some of our libraries in relation to planning deals, and 2 of the libraries are now located with schools and our new academies. And for some of our smaller libraries, we've looked at community partners. So we've reduced the book stock in some of those libraries to create new spaces, meeting rooms, learning spaces, activity spaces, and created cultural and community hubs. And now, say, since 1998, which I think in 7 years we've made pretty good progress, only 5 of our libraries are now standalone libraries. And that's my next challenge. That's what I'm going back to do tomorrow, to get those 5 sorted out. Central Library, though, as well as transforming the library service across the entire city, we've had a major refurbishment programme. Birmingham, Liverpool and Manchester, 3 of the key English cities, have been very fortunate to see heavy investment in our main central libraries. Our central library is one of the most iconic and most loved buildings in Manchester. And in 2007, the library had a fire. And the day after the fire, I stood on the entrance steps to the library. It received much media coverage. And people came to the steps in their thousands to see if the library was okay. And they asked the question in 3 ways. 1, is the building okay? Because they love that building. 2, are the books okay? And 3, are the staff okay? And that kind of gave me an idea as to where our central library was positioned in the city.
Yes.
So the library is what I would class the original modern library. It's a beautiful 1934 building that had reached its sell-by date. Doing nothing wasn't an option. We looked at the potential of a new build. However, it's a circular, purpose-built public library. There's not a lot else you can do with a circular, purpose-built public library. So what we decided to do was be very ambitious and create the original modern transformation. So the original heritage features, such as the beautiful reading room, has been restored to how it looked in 1934. It is the only bit of the library that is used for silent study. And in fact, we no longer have any staff in that room. The room polices itself. It is a whispering gallery. 320 people can study in that space, and it is generally full from the moment we open the doors to the moment we close the doors. However, we wanted to create new spaces as well, and some fantastic modern spaces. This is the new ground floor of the library, and this contains our archives, heritage and our local studies collection, a major investment in digital technology that starts to tell the printed history of the city. And one of the things that I love about this space the most is that we've spent £1.6 million on technology and digitising some of the collections, the maps, some of the rich content. Is particularly at the weekend, grandparents and grandchildren come into the library and spend hours with the young people showcasing the technology, and the grandparents then telling them stories about the history of the city. And it's just beautiful to watch that exchange of those generations and actually people having a conversation and learning together. We've changed our audience as well, because Central Library wasn't particularly child-friendly. I would say it wasn't particularly people-friendly. But these are the communities that we're now looking at engaging with a heavy emphasis on children and families and our place-based communities. I'll leave it at that. There's some web links there that give you an overview of it, the renewal programme, and I've left my email address there and happy to take any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed.